Hi, everyone. Welcome to Campaign Metrics Reporting for Duty. I am Amanda Johnson. I am a senior Slate communications strategist here at Carnegie in our Slate optimization division. And today we are going to build a campaign metrics report together. I have been with Carnegie almost 3 years now and serve clients primarily within our communications division, building out deliver campaigns, reporting on those campaigns, drawing conclusions, and helping our partners strategize to gain the most effective insights from their drip campaigns within Slate. So, I'm going to give you guys some insight into some typical things that we look at for our partners and just build one of these step by step together. So feel free to pull up your reports module, start the new report screen if you'd like to. We are going to go pretty step by step today. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Diving right in, we are going to start our campaign metrics report with a configurable joins base within the message base. So you'll select CJ and then the message base. And we're going to collect basic performance metrics like our open rate, click to open rate. And then we're going to add, of course, data columns for those counts, as well as adding columns for the formulas to calculate those rates. So this really is the end goal. We see right here in this example that the title and the subject line of the emails are listed, the total number of sends, the unique open count, the open rate, the unique click count, the click rate, and then of course the click to open rate. So first we're going to start by adding those columns that you saw. We'll just look at a couple of these, one that's the main column and one that is the formula. But since we're starting in the message base, we want to know the behavior of each person related to that message. That's why we're looking in the message base. We want to find the status of click and open. And so we want to include both of those because if you clicked it, then you opened it as well. We'll add a variable name of @opens so that we can use that in the formula to calculate our click rate. And then for the open rate there, we are adding again a column that is of a formula type. You'll notice on both of these columns, I did add a 12% width. This just helps in the visualization of the full report. So feel free to mess around with that. See, if you have additional columns or less, then you can decide what is most pertinent to you to see. And then we'll add the formula here using Technolution's helpful hints there down below. So we're doing, of course, the opens divided by the total to get that open rate, and we want to display it as a percentage. Next, we're going to add a data table to house the rows for the mailings. So we're going to add a subquery export and join to message mailing within the export, and then add the exports of the mailing name and the mailing subject, or maybe the UTM term. I've seen clients use both of those, just depends on really what you want to view there. We use the UTM terms within our mailings to list the subject matter of the email. So is it, a visit push? Is it a connect with counselor? Is it ROI or diversity information? So those can help us draw conclusions at a glance. And then we're also going to add our export row separator. So it's going to look something like this. If you choose to use the mailing subject, this is what it looks like here. Our row separator, our export separator, is going to just be a dash. And we're going to concatenate this so that we can display the name and the subject. So you're going to save this and go back out to your original subquery export. Make sure to select show series total so that you can see, for the campaign as a whole, those final numbers. And then you'll now create a subquery filter. You'll join to message mailing. You'll add either the mailing name or the mailing folder here. This is really where our recommendation would be to have all of your mailings for a particular drip campaign in one folder. It can be in a secondary folder, right? So you can select the primary and then the particular secondary folder, but this avoids you having to select each mailing individually by name, which can be extremely time consuming when you're building a report, as well as for the report maintenance for cycle to cycle. So this is what that's going to look like. In this example, we're just selecting our application generation secondary folder here. Few things to consider if you have different types of emails within your drip campaign, or maybe foldered together that aren't true drip emails that are using the timestamp. So one example is maybe we have opener emails. Maybe we want to look at those emails that we're sending to students who previously engaged. So we want to exclude those from the main drip part. You can formulate your subquery filter in this way to use the formula to exclude or include any of these types of mailings. Typically, we try to use our naming conventions very intentionally within Deliver. And so that's what we're doing here. We're excluding anything that is an opener or maybe was sent to parents of that same population, or maybe was a mailing that we wanted to resend to that population outside of the drip campaign. So just to get a full picture of those, maybe it's the emails 1 through 15 that are truly on drip. We want to get a picture of those. And so we're excluding any of these other types of mailings in this report. We also recommend adding these filters to your whole report part at the top. This will allow you to easily have year-over-year data by using archived in yes versus archived in no. So here was an example. We did archived in no so that we know that we're looking at the current cycles AppGen emails. And then we also wanted to see how emails after January 15th within the AppGen campaign compared to email sent prior. So this particular part of the report was based off of a delivered date as well. So we could look at data in a few different ways. So again, this is our end result here. All of our email names and subject lines are listed, as well as each of those counts and our performance rates. And then adding that show series total selection at the bottom gives us that total row there. So now we are done with the performance piece of the campaign metrics report and on to conversions. So we definitely want to see, what does this mean for students within the campaign? How did they matriculate? So for this part, we do actually start with a person base within configurable joins because we do want student data here. So we're going to collect basic conversion metrics. Your audience determines where you want to start tracking conversions, right? So for yield, we would start at tracking deposits. For app completion, we would start tracking at the app submission stage if we were including awaiting submission and awaiting materials in that campaign. So we're going to add a column for each of these counts, as well as a column for each conversion rate. We are, of course, going to utilize column groups, and we're going to add a variable name and subquery filter in each column related to the metric being collected. So let's take a look at our end result and kind of build it from the beginning. So dealing with an app completion campaign, like I mentioned in an example, we're starting with the submission, completion, acceptance rates, yield rates, and melt rates. So we're calculating all of that through all of the stages. Starting with the columns. So I'm gonna let this sink in for a little bit, but starting with the left-hand screenshot, we're going to name our column. So right now we're looking at the accepted column. I'm giving it a variable name, and I'm going to create a subquery filter of our applications accepted. You're then going to add anything that for you institutionally defines an accepted application. So make sure you are looking at their submitted date, the round. We also have an additional subquery filter for the decisions so that we're joining decisions within the next level there. So we're selecting our particular codes and then making sure those are confirmed to pull accepted students. And then the acceptance rate, and really all the rates within the conversion report are just like within that performance report. So we are using the guidance there. So we're taking accepts divided by completed applications. So that was just that ACP was the variable name I gave the completed applications there. And of course, displaying it as a percentage. Next, we're going to add a data table to house all of that conversion data in the rows now that we have our columns built out. If you're interested, you could duplicate this row and remove the filter altogether. So we will join to the messages and then the message mailing. And again, select the name or the folder that's tied to the campaign. This filter you could remove in your duplicated row. So this will show you conversion metrics from your campaign compared to the overall total. This might be helpful if we know you had a large amount of students applying before the AppGen campaign launched. This could help you understand when a better launch date might be and if students who receive a campaign matriculate at a higher rate than those who don't. So starting at the beginning of our build again, so this is going to just show us that we're selecting our application generation folder or those particular mailing names that you have. So if you don't have them foldered all together, you will want to pull in the name like I have done here. So looking back at our report as a whole, we have our performance section up top and then our conversion section at the bottom. And that is the whole conversion piece. So you'll repeat, the columns and the formulas for each level of information that you want to collect. There's a lot of other things that we can add to our performance reports. We start with, our metrics reports. We start with the performance and the conversion information. But of course, you may have forms within your campaign that you want to see how those performed. You may send text messages or Slate print postcards. So there's a lot of things that we can add. So let's look at a couple of those. One thing that's interesting to look at, so this is adding multiple campaigns in one report. You certainly could do that. I would say check your run times of these reports, but if you have your messages foldered nicely within Deliver, then typically this is a pretty quick report to load. This is an example of a graduate school report that they wanted to see multiple campaigns within one. So just breaking them up by academic program here based on how their folder structure is. And then, of course, the conversions associated with that as well. I mentioned form submissions earlier. This could be really important data to have related to a campaign. So you would select your particular form, which I'll show you in a minute, but the main filter is the form submission date. You want to make sure that that coordinates with the date of the campaign launching. So for this example, we want to display our person entry term as well as the form title. So maybe we have some search forms going to, underclassmen and seniors alike. Just kind of depends on what you're looking for. We're selecting the particular campaigns that we want for those UTMs and then also the term, as well as the registration status of attended or registered for that form. So again, this is just a push to make sure to use UTM codes within all of your drip campaigns. It really gives you additional insights for the behavior within a campaign. And then for a Slate Print QR code, you're just going to remove the registration status for print material scans, and also make sure to add any UTMs you're using in a personalized Slate Print QR code. One other example that I would love to show is some ping metrics. So this is basic, but definitely interesting information. So this particular example, we are looking at underclassmen campaigns where we had a search landing page associated with that. So a custom portal that underclassmen go to and visit. And so right here, we're just looking simply at total ping hits by URL. So using that portal URL here, looking at matched and unmatched records, as well as our match rate there, and then the average duration for those types of students spending on the pages. So our matched records, which we know who they are at this point within Slate, they're spending about 2 minutes on the landing page, which is great. We could also, if we wanted, add exports to look at, the counts of these that were freshmen, sophomores, juniors, all of that. So a look into how this is built. We are using a formula, using the ping URL, and just pasting that portal link in there, depending on really what information you're trying to look at. And then the average duration, joining back to person, since we are building this report within a ping base, then we'll just pull that duration in. An additional view that I would like to share is actually within Data Explorer. So the ping data and any data that relates to how you can use Explorer could be a topic for another day. But just wanted to kind of give you just a peek here on how we use some of our digital marketing information and digital UTM campaign information to display it within data. So right here, we have a line chart that's counting unique values for the ping IP address. We have some date information at the bottom to show spikes in that particular senior search campaign. So we're pulling those by timestamp, by UTM campaign, and just putting that within a data explorer to show kind of a sort of almost Google Analytics type of view into the Slate behavior. That is all I had for you today. I hope that it was useful and you were able to build a campaign metrics report. Definitely revisit this. Let us know if you have any questions about campaign metrics reports. The Carnegie team would be happy to answer your questions. And thank you so much for listening today. Again, I'm Amanda Johnson, Senior Slate Communications Strategist here at Carnegie. Thanks. Have a great day.